Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 10 Minutes to the Truth. And actually, I'm welcoming back Dr. Annika Sorensen from Sweden. Hello, Annika. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. And how are you?
I'm even better because I'm talking to you. That's what it's all about. My special pride. And the reason I wanted Annika back is because she was so darn popular last time, because she talks down to earth solutions. Sure, she's a medical practitioner with a whole lot of experience in a whole range of areas. But more important than anything else, she makes things simple. And that's what I like about her. So let me share a little bit about her. And then, with her permission, I'm going to ask her a few questions to let you get a feeling for how good this lady is. Okay. Annika, she helps C-suite executives turn overwhelm into control, right? That's pretty special
Yeah.
to get overwhelm into control. That takes some doing. There's no doubt about that. Secondly, to turn stress into calm. That's even bigger. I think that's pretty special as well. And if they can do that with her, she will look at how they can help increase their bottom line. Very practical, very down to earth. And Annika is one of these people who doesn't like to play games with words. What you see is what you get. Here's my first question for you, Annika. Okay. How do you, Dr. Annika, see meditation and mindfulness? How do you use them to find moments of calm for yourself? Share with us.
Yeah, that is an interesting question because I have, when I started to work with this stress thing and people started to tell me to go meditate, and I had such a hard time to understand what I was supposed to do because it didn't feel like my thing. I couldn't really relax. And then I got to think back in my own life, and I realized that, meditation, that was something they started to talk about. My favorite pop group was the Beatles, and they started to talk about meditation back then, and you were supposed to you were supposed to get into some kind of group. You had to pay something, you had to get your own word, it cost a lot of money. And this was when I was young, and I thought, oh, this is, I'm not going to say the word, uh, because I was a science person. Yeah. So I didn't really think of it, and it hurt me a little bit because the Beatles were my favorites and they were into this, and that was not what I wanted. Anyway, I to me meditation was something that for others, and that was a money thing, because they, and also that odd thing that you got this word and you were not supposed to tell it to anyone. Whoa, whoa.
Mm.
And so I forgot, and I never thought of it for many years. And then I was, say, 10 or a little bit more than 10 years ago, I was at this event with a guy called Brandon Burchard in the States. And we were almost 1,000 people in the room, and he all of a sudden said, okay, now we're going to all meditate together. And I thought, all this came back from when I was young. What does he mean? We don't have this word. Most of us don't do this. Or, and then he asked how many of you do meditate, and about 10% raised their hand. And I, in my mind, thought, okay, why are you doing this to us? Only 10% of the people are going to do this with you. And then this guy said, okay, let's all together say the word release, and close your eyes. And we can see, and we will do this for 10 minutes, and you just sit there and say release slowly to yourself. And he started release, release. And the room was so calm. Everyone was sitting still. And then afterwards he said, okay, how does it feel? And it actually felt very good. And in my world, it changed, because now I realized you don't have to have a word that you paid a lot of money for. You can use any kind word you want. Just close your eyes, let your brain rest for a moment. And I use that as a mini meditation in my business now. And mindfulness is kind of the same thing in my world. Take in the world that's around you. And I could say that I use that when I do, for example, walking, when I take my walks. Instead of having the earphones and listening to music, I listen to the birds, I listen to the cars passing, I see the leaves, rattling in the trees, and be aware of where I am. And when I come back, I feel so good and my brain has had a real rest. So that's how I see those things. And I do that, use them.
Okay.
It's a way to kind of shut down your brain for a moment and have it rest and let all those nerve cells go back to where they are supposed to be so you
Oh,
can think clearly.
we all need to do that, don't we? We really do.
Yeah.
Ooh, this world's too quick. Now, speaking of going on a walk and listening to the birds chirping and all those things, tell me, Yannick, what's your take on physical activity?
Physical activity, yes, that's also a very important part of life. And we need to do that every day, one way or the other. And there's hypes about you have to do so much, you have to, you have to, you have to. But I don't think there is so much have to. It's more implementing it into your ordinary life. I do take walks every day, 30 minutes brisk walk. That gives my heart work through, and my brain gets in a good spot. And if you talk to science, they usually say like at least 5 days a week. You're supposed to do that as a base. And then I also use all those things that you can do in your everyday life. I mean, gardening, cleaning, and taking the stairs instead of the elevator, and those practical things you can do every time. I taught my kids that every step counts. So even if they have to go get something, that they say, do I have to go get that? Yes, every step counts.
My next question, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We talked about your take on physical activity, and I've got two more simple questions for you. The next one is, what about eating? Simple thing like that. What's your take on what we should eat when it comes to being calm and reducing stress?
In my world, eat a little bit of everything. Eat 3 times a day, because the body, or especially the brain, needs energy on a regular basis. So you need to have a breakfast with some good content. You need to have some lunch, and you need to have some dinner, and then you can have a snack in between. And yes, you can eat cake every now and then, but not every day. And instead have a fruit or a rye bread or something. Try to make it as regular as possible, because our brain has these clocks in there and they want us to be regular. We are primed to be regular.
So we meditated, and then we basically done our physical exercise and we're eating properly. Now we come to the important thing, which I'm not good at. What about sleeping?
Yeah, sleeping. It's a subject that a lot of people talk about. And yes, it's can be a big problem, because we do need to sleep. We have also those clocks in here that tells us to sleep at a regular time. And we have, like, I get tired early in the evening, and my husband gets tired later, and he sleeps later and I get up earlier. But that's normal for each of us, as long as we keep our pattern. Because the brain wants us to listen to what it tells us when we are sleepy. Science says that you need like 7, 8, or 9 hours of sleep. And then there is a whole, what do you say, sleep school on what you should do to have the best circumstances, like a cool, dark room, no internet things around your bed, because your brain is subconsciously knowing the phone is lying there. So if you need a clock, an alarm clock, you need to get an alarm clock instead of the phone. And if you start looking in your phone in the middle of the night, or when you're supposed to sleep, it has a blue light that is depressing the sleep hormone. So you're kind of telling your brain that, okay, I'm not going to sleep now because I've depressed my sleeping hormone, and it takes another hour or another hour. This is not supposed to be in the bedroom.
Dr. Annika, thank you. Thank you for sharing your, as always, practical, down-to-earth thoughts on meditation, on mindfulness, exercise, eating, sleeping, all these basics in our life that sometimes we take for granted. That's probably the biggest problem of all. We take things for granted and we don't look after ourselves enough. So
no. And I call them tools, because if you turn it around and call them tools, then you kind of see that, yes, they can help me. They are not just something we do. And you can speak to anyone who talks about stress. They are all going to talk about eat, sleep, and exercise.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to finish with, what's the best way for people to contact you? Would it be askdrannika.com?
Yes, that would be the best place. And there's a contact page there. So
thank you very much, Dr. Annika. I always appreciate and enjoy talking with you. And thank you for your words of wisdom and advice.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.